Hi guys, Julia here from JM Squared Vintage. Welcome back to the channel. I am here today to discuss the topic that's on everybody's mind right now. All of the bombshell after bombshell after bombshell that Poshmark has been dropping on us. As in the fees that were going to be lowered, then they were changed, then people revolted and they changed it back. Happy back to original fees day on Poshmark, everybody, by the way. But if this is the first time that you are making your way to my channel, first and foremost, welcome. I am Julia. That is my name. We talk all things thrifting and vintage and the business of reselling on the internet here. If that sounds like something that you might be into, consider hitting subscribe down below. I would love to have you along on this journey. But without further ado, guys, let's get into it. Let's spill some tea. Let's share some thoughts on everything that's transpired since the beginning of October. So if you are unfamiliar with what's going on, Poshmark announced during their Posh Fest event that they were going to be announcing updated fees. They didn't really say much about what that meant, but they did say that they were working on adjusting fees, to which everybody was elated. A lot of people have complained about the 20% fee. That's everybody's prerogative. So everybody was excited to hear what Poshmark was about to do. So they finally make their announcement. They made the announcement on October 2nd that under the guise of lower sellers' fees, they were going to be changing the fee structure. While they meant almost universally, not in every case, but almost universally lower fees for sellers, what that meant was that they were levying a buyer protection fee on the buyers. So instead of selling an item, Poshmark taking a flat 20% fee off the top of that, now it was going to be, depending on the price, either $1, $2, or $3 plus 5.99% of the sale price. The issue was that fee was going to be paid by sellers as well as buyers. So for a lot of people, that's a big jump. If you want to see the breakdown of what that meant financially, I did a whole 4 different scenarios priced out, what buyers were going to be paying before, after, what Poshmark was taking. I did a whole breakdown of that on a haul a few weeks ago. If you want to see that, I'll link that down below. There was obviously some blowback on that, and more on that in a little bit. But ultimately, they announced that after all of the feedback they've gotten and considering some data, that they are reverting to the 20% fee. And that goes back into effect today. Hopefully you're seeing a little bit of an uptick in your sales. So the question remains, what happened here? What were their fatal mistakes? And you guys know I've got my matcha latte, as always. So I think that their core big mistake was underestimating the consumer's sensitivity to additional fees. People are so pinched right now with the economy. Groceries are high, gas is high, everything's expensive. It is expensive to live. The $20 tax that used to be in New York to walk out your door is now a $40 tax. It is an expensive time to be alive. And the fact of the matter is, on Poshmark, for the most part, there are boutiques out there. There are people who do, primarily new with tag sales. For the most part, people are buying secondhand here. So in general, your clientele, like the buyer pool from Poshmark, is not the same pool that's going to Bloomingdale's and paying full price. They're already sensitive to shipping fees. I know that we pay for Amazon Prime once a year, whatever it is, $199, but we are conditioned to expect free shipping. So say you have, all right, take this emergency stay and rescue. I get this stuff on Amazon. I just reorder it. This is like the most reseller thing in the world to pull this out of a pencil cup on my desk. Say this is $15 with free shipping. And then say that there's another seller out there that's selling this for $10 with $4.99 shipping. I'm still probably going to buy that $15 version with the free shipping. It's like a mental game, right? Like this is all up here. It's the same price, once it hits my card, but it's a mental game that I'm getting that free shipping, so I'm getting a deal. So buyers are already sensitive to shipping, and then you add on fees. And what they ended up doing when this all rolled out was that they lumped it in with taxes. So people who are buying something that is, $15, they're all of a sudden now seeing a total buyer protection fee, and it includes taxes and then the fees on top of taxes. All of a sudden you're seeing this additional buyer's protection fee of whatever it was, $7. And when you're dealing with a $15 item, seeing that number that's almost 50% of the price that you're paying is incredibly incredibly jarring on top of the, whatever it is, $7.97 shipping cost. I have had several buyers that have like gone through the buying process and got to the end and said, what in the world is this? It wasn't transparent. So I think kind of a second layer to the actual like underestimation of buyer sensitivity to fees is the way that they presented it. Like when they first made this announcement, and they changed this within one day, but when they first made this announcement, the language at the beginning of the announcement was something to the tune of, in an effort to simplify and make our pricing more transparent. And I'm like, in what world is something like this that made somebody like me and lots of other creators out there do entire videos breaking down the new fees, what our buyers were going to be paying, what we were going to be paying at different price points? Like, it was the most convoluted, confusing system. But I thought that was funny that that's what they led with. I don't know who greenlit that copy. And ultimately, the second fatal mistake was that they literally sprung this on the entire community under 24 hours before they put it into action, right? Like, they didn't give anybody chances to adjust pricing if they wanted to adjust pricing, adjust their internal reporting. Like, it was literally, this is the new fee change. It goes into action tomorrow morning. Good luck. So I think at large, people are slow to change, and like that's just the nature of people. Like, we are naturally resistant to change. We like to stay in our comfort zone. So positing something this drastic and like executing on it within 24 hours is just too fast. You gotta give people notice. After several weeks of them absolutely getting dragged on social media, absolutely getting dragged in seller forums, ultimately we got the announcement Monday morning that they were going to be reverting back to the 20% flat fee with a $2.95 fee minimum. Ultimately, they posed it as, we thought that this was going to help our sellers make more money, but we listened to you, we looked at some data, and ultimately we're changing it back. So it was kind of like we did our best, but we're going to change it back because that's what you guys want. Overwhelmingly, I think that sellers are happy about this change. There are certain high dollar sellers that I think were doing a little bit better. I had taken a poll of my viewers, and I'll post the results of that right here. 38% of the people who responded to this poll were showing a drastic drop off on sales. An additional 23% were showing a slight decrease in sales, and then 25% were showing like as normal. So that's a total of 86% were showing like the same or lower, with the vast majority of that being lower, if not drastically lower. There were a few people that did better, and that's amazing. I love that there were like at least some people that thrived in this fee change. It had to be good for somebody, so I'm glad that there are still some people out there that were doing well with it. But ultimately, the overwhelming majority of people just thought it was a bad move. Sure, we all like lower fees. Of course, we would love to see that fee drop to 18% or 15%, but realistically, that's not going to happen because they've already got a successful business built on 20%. Why would they ever lower that? But yeah, the buyers were not happy about it. It was not transparent, and it was a good chunk on top of an already like scary looking shipping price. So what do I think really happened? So I think that this was some two-pronged blowback on them. I think that the first thing, and probably the most important thing that happened here, was that they watched sales dive off a cliff. I know that my experience was not unique, and I think that that was like 80% of their decision making. The other 20% was that there was just so much negative chatter about this change. And I'm sure they're probably thinking, well, why didn't anybody say this about Mercari when they did it, or Depop when they did it? Well, the fact of the matter is, like, aside from eBay, at least in the United States, Poshmark is by far the biggest reselling platform. And I know that there are a lot of resellers out there that only do Poshmark. They haven't even started to dip their toe into the world of cross-listing, which this is a perfect example of why you should be cross-listing. Putting all your eggs in one basket is a real dangerous game. So yeah, I just don't think it was a very good week. I think that they handled it poorly, and I think that they got called out very, very publicly while they were also watching sales kind of tank. And you have to remember, like, Naver, the parent company of Poshmark, is a conglomerate. They are not here to serve Poshmark. What they care about is profit. That's it. They don't care about you, the seller. They don't care about the buyers. They care about profits. And that's literally, like, I'm not saying that to trash Naver in any way, shape, or form. Like, just that's the nature of business in a conglomerate world, or, you know, if you're in a venture capital world or investment banking world, like, all they care about is the balance sheet. And, like, that's their job. So, like, that's literally what they're supposed to be doing. So just know that ultimately decisions are going to be made with data points and money. And that's that. They would be completely overwhelmed if they were bending to every whim of every seller and every buyer out there. So ultimately, am I happy that we're back to normal? I'm happy. I don't ever think that buyers should have to pay a fee for the privilege of shopping secondhand on a platform. I think that these platforms already offer buyer protection, as they should, because there are scammers out there. But I think that that should come out of the fee that the sellers pay. As sellers, there is a cost of doing business. You know, the only place that you're ever going to be able to resell and not pay any kind of fees on it is out of your own garage. And even with that, you're going to need to somehow get people to your garage, right? So like when we as sellers have inventory to sell, our choices are to run a garage sale and sell it for whatever price it goes for at the garage sale based on who happens to drive past your house that morning, or we can put it on a platform. We are paying the fee, not for funsies, we are paying the fee for the built-in audience that Poshmark has. Now, people will come back and they'll yell at me, well, I have repeat customers. And well, okay, great. How did you get your repeat customer? 99 times out of 100, if it's not a customer that has found me from my YouTube channel, it's somebody that I provided a great experience and they've kind of marked me for, okay, this buyer is safe to buy from. Ultimately, we are paying the fee for the use of the platform, the actual app, also the built-in customer base that they market to regularly. So that, yes, you're going to have to pay a fee. So I'm happy. I'm happy that we're back at 20% fees. Do I wish it was a little bit less? Sure. Don't we all? But the fact of the matter is, it is a cost of doing business. My other option is to pay for a stall at Melrose Trading Post or open a storefront or whatever the case may be. Like, there's always going to be a cost to offload product that I would like to sell. And 20% for a built-in robust customer base is, in my opinion, and I've been called a shill for Poshmark for saying this, I don't think it's that bad. Go to a consignment store and tell me how much they give you. So now to the fun part. I like to have wish lists. If they really want to impact the bottom line, if they want to increase sales, if they want to increase revenue, I think that there's a few ways to do it. And I've got kind of my like 3 or 4 top wish list things that I wish that they would invest in that I personally think would have huge impact on sales and on the buyer experience. Because ultimately, I think with Poshmark, what is happening, why things have slowed so much. Obviously, the economy is at play, but I think that the main reason that sales have slowed up on Poshmark are because the buyer experience has really, really suffered. So Poshmark got started back in the day as a place where you could sell items that you are no longer wearing in your closet to somebody who wanted to buy them somewhere out in the ether. And for a long time, I think I started on Poshmark in 2015 or 2016. I was, pretty early on. And it was great, like I had an old ski jacket that I hadn't worn and it sold in 2 days for $100. It was great. But I think what's happened over the years, obviously resellers have come into the game and kind of flooded, and that's fine. Like, that's still manageable to work around. But I think ultimately, like, one of the first issues is that you have now with live shows, and I have my feelings about live shows. I don't really love them. I know that there's a lot of people who love them and they make great money off of them, and that's great. I don't ever want to step on your toes in that sense. Like, I think that live shows are great. If they're your bread and butter, like, amazing, keep doing them. And who knows, maybe at some point I'll try them. I am somewhat comfortable being on camera at this point. But I think that live show shopping and closet shopping is such a vastly different experience that are appealing to vastly different people. I think the fact that they are so like enmeshed in the app, I think that that's a problem for a lot of people. I've been very clear about the fact that I started this YouTube channel because like nobody in my life was involved in this world and I wanted somebody to talk to about this. So look at us, we're building a community. But I have a lot of people that I can get very like objective and unbiased opinions from just because they're not involved in this. Obviously I have opinions, but I'm also in the apps all the time, right? So I asked my best friend, who is a perfect example of somebody who should be shopping on Poshmark. She's my age, she's got a couple of kids that she needs to clothe, she's busy, she's running a household, she's got a full-time job, she's got a million things going on. And her first word is, she's like, I hate going into Poshmark because it is just so overwhelming. The notifications, the homepage is just too much. And she's not wrong. I get it. There is going to be some level of clutter because they're just pulling random people's images into a homepage. And obviously it would cost way too much money to have somebody sitting there and like actively curating all those things all the time. But when you add in the live shows and the posh parties and the this and that, whatever, it's like, I'm just coming in to find a pair of Madewell jeans, right? Like, where do I just search for Madewell jeans? I think that there could be some gains made by maybe separating those two. I think live shows are very intimidating to a lot of people who just want to search for a certain item and find it in their size, and instead they're getting hit with like, oh, posh party, free people and new with tags and Lululemon and whatever, share show and notifications. Like, just let me search for Madewell jeans, right? I think that if they were able to separate those two somehow, even just put them on like two main, like, first thing you see when you come into Poshmark is shop closets, shop live. Keep it clean and just let us select which portal we want to go into. I also feel some kind of way that they're putting in auction sold comps in with closet sold comps, because they like fundamentally are two different kinds of sales. And unfortunately, the live show comps are affecting the price of closet sales. So that's more of a nuanced thing, but I do think that is very much affecting the bottom line. And remember, when I do good, they do good. When we all do good, they do great. So if anybody's listening out there, this is all just my thoughts on, I think, what would literally raise the tide for everybody, them probably most of all. So we need better control over what notifications we see, what we can opt out of. I know that there's a lot of people that unfollow people that are going live, whatever the case may be, but for the casual user that, again, is just coming in to see if they can pick up their favorite pair of Madewell jeans, the app is very cluttered and very confusing. I think that they could do a lot with user experience that would really lower the bar to entry for a lot of buyers, especially new buyers, like people coming into Poshmark for the first time, because I think that they're struggling with that. So while we're talking about buyer experience, I think one of the big things that they could do, and I don't think that this would be a huge programming change, buyer experience is so important. Like, if I was a first timer coming in and I'm looking for those Madewell jeans and I search and I find a pair that's in my size and I ask a question about like the dimensions, or if I put in an offer and I don't hear anything back, or say I just buy it outright and nothing ever happens, and then all of a sudden we look in and we see that the buyer hasn't been active since 2021. Like, this feels like a very low stakes, pretty simple change that they could make. Say you haven't been in your closet for 3 months. Sure, there's like a lot of people that sell the stuff that they're no longer wearing. They're maybe not in the app every day like I am, but they're maybe in the app once a week or once a month. They're checking in. They're doing a quick, oh, I haven't worn this in a year. Let me throw this up on Poshmark. Like, they're moderately engaged. But if you haven't been in the app for 3 months, 4 months, 5 years, chances are you're not getting notifications. You've silenced all your notifications. You're not going to know when, or you just don't care to anymore. You don't want to sell it anymore, so you just don't answer. I think that they need to do something about suppressing closets that have been inactive, because I think that this is creating a really bad taste in the mouth of buyers. There are so many of them. If this is the first time that you're coming in to try to shop secondhand online, direct from sellers, and this is your experience, you're not coming back to shop again. Like, you need those jeans for school that starts next week, or you need those jeans for a vacation you're going on, and now you have to go to Madewell and buy them at full price because the Poshmark thing you tried didn't happen, and you didn't learn that it wasn't going to happen for a week until after. It's just a terrible experience, and it will drive people away. I know that if I wasn't involved in this and that was my experience, like, forget it, I would never come back. That to me does not seem like it would be a huge investment to get that change made, but I think that would be a very impactful change in the buyer experience and to help out the sellers get their stuff a little bit more visibility, right? So the final thing that I think would be the single most impactful change that they could make, and it does always come back to that buyer experience. Like, in marketing, in web development, as you are developing a website, the thing that you are always thinking about is how many clicks to buy. You always want to do everything you can to reduce the amount of clicks that it takes to buy, because with every click, there is a drop off of people that get through to complete the sale. So the less clicks you have, the more people you're going to have follow through with the sale. And I think one of their most fatal flaws is their search function. I think that their search function is messy. The search algorithm is not great. Like, we don't know the actual like secret sauce in their algorithm that is usually heavily guarded, but like, it's just not that great. If I search for like black cocktail dress midi length, it's going to bring me back all black dresses, all cocktail dresses, and all midi length dresses. It doesn't seem like it has any kind of like hierarchy on volume of keywords in a search result, if that makes sense at all. It just seems like it's just kind of bringing us back everything that matches those. And again, that's overwhelming. There's also a lot of people that will not go to thrift stores because it is an overwhelming experience. So people like that, right off the bat, if this is like the search results that you're getting, you're done. Like you're gone. It's too much. You don't have time to search through 26,000 black dresses, cocktail dresses, and midi dresses. So I think that in and of itself, like the actual search algorithm could use a good tune-up. There's just too much on there right now, and it is completely overwhelming potential buyers. I think that's a big deal. And I think that their search function, like their filter function, could also use some work. Like the my size thing is, to me, like as I'm shopping, the single most frustrating thing. First and foremost, there's a whole lot of categories that you don't have a my size for. Like if you know that in particular you are a size whatever in Free People, which is always a crapshoot, you can't search for like a size medium dress in Free People when your size is whatever, large, extra large. Like there's no way to do a drop down and say, I want to see everything in medium, large, and extra large. It's my size or all sizes, and that's it. Like that, it's one of the most frustrating things on the entire platform. Again, my experience, let me know if this is your experience as well. But that's it, guys. So we've lived through this wild experiment. I'm interested to hear what your experience has been. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. What do you think happened? What do you think of how Poshmark handled this? What are your wish list items? What do you wish that they would change that you think would really like move the needle in terms of buyers completing sales, getting more buyers on and active on the platform? Let me know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. This is always such interesting conversation after we do a video like this. And, you know, I love Poshmark. I'm still going to be selling on Poshmark. There's a lot that I wish I could change about Poshmark, but I have also worked in corporate America, so I know how things work, and I understand when you're dealing with a parent corporation. I know all of these things that they're dealing with right now. There are a few things that I wish they would change. All of this, just to get back to square one. The one thing I will say is that they have shown their cards at this point, right? So they've already shown what they intend to do. So though they have wheeled back the fee structure to what it used to be, I would not get comfortable here. I think that because they've already shown their cards and they've shown their intent to somehow get more money out of each sale, I think that they're going to do that in another way, one way or another. Let's see what that is. I think that these kind of changes will do what they are looking to do without dinging the buyer or the seller additionally, but let me know. But that's it, guys. Those are my thoughts. Thank you guys so much for sitting here with me while I ramble on and on and on about my thoughts on what's been going on at Poshmark. I'm so interested to hear your take on what's been going on, where we are today. What do you think we're going to be seeing in the future? But guys, I wish you all have the most beautiful weekend. I'm wishing you continued success, great sales, happy hunting, and I will see you all in the next one.